All right, here we go. The Torah Zayin Chelik Beis, second Chelik of Likutey Moharan. We are basically uh, concluding the teaching. We learned the last time how that spiritual structure of Moshe Rabbeinu, who is the Tzaddik Ador, that has the Rachmanas on everyone. He's a true manig, he's a true leader, and the true leader has Rachmanas on the people, and the true Rachmanas on people is to extricate them from Averis. Because if a person is Farmer Kodesh Baruch Hu, he's not a human. Basically, he is an animal in human form. Maybe he can hit 62 home runs in a season, but that's not the description of a human being. Human being is somebody who has a das amiti of why were you created? That's the closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And like I said, the main shlemus of the das is that a person should just have the das for himself, but also to teach it on, to leave behind sons and students. We went on at great length that you have to combine them both, the perception, the perspective of a son, the perspective of you realize that you haven't started yet. It doesn't matter how much you know, suddenly you realize that there's a whole universe that you haven't even started. The marshal of a kid came to Cheder, Kita Aleph, knows everything, didn't learn anything until Kita Ches, goes to high school, and suddenly you say, "Whoa, no high school will accept me. I didn't learn anything." So he goes to the principal, he goes to Rosh Yeshiva, whatever, and he says, I promise I'll start now. I know I finished elementary school, but I don't know anything. What do you know? When you came into elementary school, you say you know everything. You know Aleph Beis, you know everything. Well, now you're saying you don't know nothing. So, yeah, now you got to the station, you realize it. If compared to what it is to know, he hasn't started even yet. When he had this small das, when he was a kid, he came to Kita Aleph, he thought he knew everything. The same thing applies in every madrega. Every level that you are, vis-a-vis the level above you, you haven't even started. Obviously, it takes a tremendous amount of ha'ara. Now the thing is that what the Rebbe, what the Chacham Ador has to show a person. I'm not talking about somebody who has never known anything about Yiddishkeit. Him too, obviously. Um, but even people that know the entire Shas, and they know the entire Shulchan Aruch, they know Kabbalah, they know Kisvei Arizal, they know everything. And the Tzaddik Ador has to show them that they haven't even started yet. So you can imagine what he needs to show them that will basically make everything that they know as if they haven't even started yet. That's what the tzaddik needs. He needs to bring them to a situation where they realize of what have you found? What have you accomplished? That's the perspective of a son. On one hand, you realize I haven't started anything yet, but and because you don't see anything, Because you don't see anything, you figure there's nothing to see. Same thing happened in on Tisha B'av. Beit Hamikdash was destroyed. So Chazal says, the Zohar says, like, what did the Kadosh Baruch Hu do? So the Navi says, Bitzai Imrato. Kadosh Baruch Hu has carried out his speech, his Imrato, what he said. He said he's going to destroy the Beis Hamikdash, and he did. But the Zohar uses Bitzai Imrato in a very different way. It is say he tore his outer garment, his ermine, whatever you call it, the king's wear, whatever it is. He tore it. What does it mean? Kadosh Baruch Hu has to be constricted in order for us to be able to see it. If the light is too big, we don't have the capacity to receive it. So what do we receive? We receive nothing. It's not like, okay, well, I'll get a little bit. No, you don't get a little bit, you get nothing. Unless the light is dimmed, exactly to your capacity to see. If it's too much, you don't see. You're blinded by the light. It's just you don't see anything. The same thing when somebody reaches a madrega of mechamita pishpashta means he doesn't see anything. On the other hand, the Talmud is somebody has a perspective of melokol haaretz kevoidoi. Because Baruch is with him, is close to him. He feels that he knows maybe he does what he has to do. He doesn't do what he has to do. But the point is that Baruch Hashem. So the tzaddik has to show the Talmud because Baruch is with him and is close to him and wants you and he loves you and the son, Baruch has to show him that he hasn't even started yet. Somebody the son is very close, is very high, whatever. You haven't even started. Don't get too big for your britches. It's like, in the combination of both, in other words, the son has to have a little of the varmkeit, that the Talmud has, and I'm sorry, the perspective of the Talmud has the perspective of the son, and what that does, that brings in what the Rebbe calls the remozim from Yam HaChochma, the hints from the sea of wisdom. This is Sfiras HaChochma. The Yadayim Yam HaChochma, this is the things that the Chacham alludes to with his hands or with his speech, but he doesn't say outright. We went through at great length. Why does he do it, and so forth and so on.
The Talmud and the with respect to the son that has to be
the son doesn't see anything. He doesn't see anything. The son is mechamita. You haven't seen what? You haven't found anything yet. So if he's already going on to this madrega, when you show it to him, he doesn't see anything. He doesn't have Yiras Shamayim. He doesn't see HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They say in Beis Hamikdash, HaKadosh Baruch Hu tore his garment. Why? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu was constricted, as it were, in the Beis Hamikdash, because Beis Hamikdash was the garment of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And it diminished the light enough for everyone to see, come to Beis Hamikdash and to see and be aware of the Kedusha HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, all the miracles that were happening in Beis Hamikdash. The Nevuah came from there. Why? Because the light, the infinite light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu was dimmed to the point with the kalim, the garment of Beis Hamikdash, to the point that we could receive it. But being that we didn't do what we needed to do, So Kodesh is like, you don't deserve, for me to constrict my godliness, so what he did was that he broke the Beis Hamikdash. He broke the garment. He broke the mechanism that is mitzamtzem, the light of Hakadosh Baruch Hu. As a result, we don't see anything. In other words, the Likutey Hakadosh Baruch Hu is Ein Sof. It's infinite. When it's infinite, we don't have the kelim to. So what do we see? We see nothing. After Beis Hamikdash, the first Beis Hamikdash, there was no longer Nevuah. After the second Beis Hamikdash, there was no longer Ruach HaKodesh, and so forth and so on. And it's like the garments keep on. So the tzimtzum is the thing that enables us to see. So a son is somebody who has gotten out of the tzimtzum. He's gotten out to the madrega. They say, "Wow, I haven't even started anything yet." What happens in this time? He doesn't see anything. He realized that everything that he did until now, I haven't started yet. There's a notion, there is something way, way beyond, which brought him to the conclusion that he hasn't even started yet. He saw a great light, and Mashenka, the Talmud is awake. The Talmud is aware of where he is, and Madrega, the greatness of the Rebbe, and so forth and so on. He's called Chinas Er. So we said the story of Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Eliezer the last time, and now we will just finish how this Torah is embedded in the verses that the Rebbe started the Torah with, and then we will, Zat Hashem, go to the additions that are shaykh to this particular Maimon. Mirz Hashem, next week I would like to prepare a shir that deals with the tzaddik and me. What is a tzaddik? What is me? What is it to do? What does it mean? Connect to him, not connect to him. The tzaddik in the elevator tefillah. Well, what's going on here? That Hashem, I'd like to prepare a shir. I saw some marvelous material from David Wirtzman, and That Hashem I will prepare it for next week. But hopefully we'll be able to finish the story now. שנתיים ימים is only 2 years. If you remember, we said the Amakifin, circumferential asogas, lights, and das, that is called years, and some asogas called days. Because in Ruchnius, where there's no time and place, there's no real time. So everything. So what do you call a day? What do you call a year? This is a euphemism for a certain level of conception, of concept, of being able to conceive the saga. The one, certain level is called a day. Oil Mabod and Neshamas, every year, the Yortzeit. Yortzeit we celebrate here. We notion here.
My from the Hebrew date over the secular date.
The secular date doesn't mean anything.
What does that mean?
No, the Hebrew date is the system of people that are within time and place to affect tikkunim beyond time and place. We explained this. I don't know if you remember. We said in Rosh Hashanah, what happens at night? Everybody in the world goes to Kodesh Baruch Hu, one by one. And then you have the morning. Is Kodesh Baruch Hu is sitting on the seat of judgment, as it were. And then during the day, midday with Kiyas Shofar, Kodesh Baruch Hu is Keviyochel is getting up from the seat of judgment and is sitting on Kiyas Shel Rachamim. Okay, so we said, like, when does it happen? Uman time, New York time, Antarctica's time. What time does it happen? So the tikkun of what happens by night, what happens by day, or the same thing is with Daled Minim on Sukkot. Okay, so if you're taking the Daled Minim and you shuckle them, you're doing on the first day of Sukkot. Where is it measured? That's Israel, or maybe beyond the timeline. Japan and Okinawa, whatever it is. It's a day before, right? So when is it measured? According to what is it measured? The answer is what? The answer is the tikkun of Rosh Hashanah and the tikkun of the Daled Minim and all these tikkunim are timeless. But we live under constraints of time and place. So when do we turn the switch? When we in this world, as low people, affect this tikkun? Either the tikkun of Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur or Daled Minim.
About birthday.
What? It's the same thing. It's the same. It's no difference.
The Hebrew date or the secular date?
Of course, the Hebrew date.
Why? What's the difference?
First of all, I don't know that the difference is that at least according to Chabad, they're very makbid on this. That the brachas that day, whatever it is, it's a day of ischadshus. It's a day of it's a day of renewal. It's a day of renewal.
Always different. Hebrew day is always different.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Secular day does not mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. Forget about it.
Maybe once every 17 years.
Whatever it is, it doesn't make a difference. It doesn't make a difference. The Hebrew date is just something that it happens here during under time and place, but the tikkun that it does is timeless. Because in the level of ruchnis, in the level of neshamas, B'ezrat Hashem next week, we'll talk about it more. In the level of neshamas, there is no time. There is no time. So we make it Shnatayim Yamim, talking about Sogas is Tkufas Hayomim, Tkufas Hashonim, is the Makifim, B'chinas Olam Haba, which is Yom Shekula Orech, a day that is essentially long, which means the time does not apply to. Shulamala Mazman, it's beyond time. Sham Seder Azmonim, there, the order of time of the Zmanim, B'chinas Makifim Kanal. That's how you measure, how you put the tags on, identifying tags on the different makifim. Shem kol hatanugim v'shashum shel olam haba. This is all the pleasure of olam haba. Paroi, one of the things that we need to know is that Paroi we know is a bad person, right? He was a bad person. But every bechina that is betuma, there's a bechina b'kedusha. Jelur mazeasa. In kedusha, there is a bechina of paroi, which is kedusha. Like for instance, we know that a woman that is not behaving properly is called kedesha. The story of Yehuda. Yeah, Kadesha Yibayinayim, that's a woman that is sells herself. It's Kadesha. What does a person do when he marries his wife? He's Mekadesh, he's doing Kedusha. So he says there is to be Mekadesh in the Tumah, there's Mekadesh Kedusha. The same thing applies for Paroi. There's a Paroi Betumah, which is Melech Mitzrayim, and there is a Paroi B'Kedusha. Paroi B'Kedusha, as we say with Elalin, when Isha, that her husband suspects her, he has to take her to the Beis Hamikdash. And one of the things is the whole tikkun that that they write the Megillah and they put it on the water and so forth and so on. And one of the things is and Upara HaKoyen Israel, then the Kohen exposes her hair. And the word used for exposure, for taking off the cover, is upara, rosh parua. It means exposed. So para means exposure. Tzedek kedusha means exposure.
You said before Power you backed up, you said that's the pleasure of all of the Power.
Yeah.
What are the pleasures?
We said it is we sort of have to return to past Shurim. I mean, it was like when Makifim come in, when the Sechel Pnimi is that which you own already, that's which you understand already. You know how to drive a car. How to drive a car. You don't get excited by it. But look at you. You know how to drive a car. Why do you get excited? Well, because it's old. It's old news. Okay, yeah. So that's or Pnimi. You got it. It's in your faculties. The makif is something that you are aware that it exists, but you don't know it yet. Because you can fly a plane. Wow, whoa. Okay, now you're talking excitement. But once you already know how to fly a plane because of Pnimi, it's boring. Why? Because it comes to Pnimi. The excitement is always the first time when you take off in a plane, solo flight, there's nothing more exciting in the world. Wow, look at me, I'm flying. Right? It's the first thing when you got your license, driving license. The fun. So when you actually get the makif in, that's when the pleasure is. The entrance of makifim in, that's the pleasure. Whenever it is that the prospects of fantastic things happening to you, at the time when they enter your reality, this is when the pleasure is. We give another muscle, winning the lottery. Okay? When you discover that you won the lottery, you freak out. And then you realize, hey, you're a millionaire. That's it. All the problems, like the famous story they say about the guy that won the lottery, and they say they came to interview him, and they said, "What are you going to do with the money?" He says, "I'm going to pay debts." He says, "So what about the rest?" He said, "The rest will have to wait." Olam haba is makif, the neshama attaining a higher makif when it comes in. The main pleasure of winning the lottery is when you win it. Afterwards, all your family is coming begging and giving you the guilt trip. Why aren't you giving them money? And what's wrong with you? And you're the worst person on earth. It's like all the friends from everybody discovered. I don't know. Somebody put out an ad over the entire world. You won the lottery. From that moment on, they know you. Every mishloach thinkable is sitting on your doorstep. You can't even get in and out, and you don't have the kalim. Rich people, they're used to it. No problem. You sit down, you come and give you stuff or whatever. But when you never had anything, suddenly you have, millions. You don't know how to behave with that. Either the pleasure is when you want it, when you won, when you won. That's the knis of the makif, which is the pleasure. I will win the lottery. I'll be a millionaire, and boom, it happens. From a theory, it becomes reality. That instant, that's where the pleasure is.
That's all about that instant.
It keeps on makifin upon makifin upon makifin on makifin. Yeah. This is what the makif is. The knis of makifin. When you take a look in this world, all the pleasure of this world is also knisas makifin, the entrance of makifin. When you're not married, okay, your wife says, okay, we're going to get married. Wow. This is when the same thing is everything. When the child is born, wow, suddenly I'm a father. The makif came in afterwards. Okay, you have to change your diapers. Afterwards, so and so forth and so on. So the entrance of the promise to reality, when it was just a tantalizing promise, it was, you knew it was there, but you didn't have it. Once you already have it, okay, that's all news. But the entrance of from there to here, that's what the news is. That's, by the way, is the entire um, attraction of news. News.
News. Oh yeah, right. You hear that?
That's all there is. I mean, you get somebody a newspaper, you go, wow, that's amazing, but it's 2 weeks old. I don't know. What's the difference? You know, it's like, the first, when the news break, that excitement is Knesset Samakifim.
Breaking news.
Breaking news, yes, it's breaking. It's when the Makif becomes a Pnimi.
It's just like a trick to listen to the news.
It's
a waste of time, though.
Of course, it's a waste of time. You didn't know until now.
Sometimes it's interesting, though, to hear what's going on.
Well, now it's Knesset Samakifim. Now I know it's a waste of time. And so Paroi means Pchinas Yovel. Yovel is Shara Chamishim. What? We're finishing Torah Zayin Chelik Beis. The Paroi, we said this is a Gilui. The Rebbe says this is a Yovel. Yovel is Shara Chamishim. That's the source where Or upon him, the light of the Pnei Hashem. This is when the light comes in. This is at 370 lights. Shah and Hoirin comes from there, and this is the source of all the Makifin. So the Or upon him is a euphemism for all the set of Makifin. So the Para Pchinas Yovel, as Zohar says, the Para is alluding, the name Para B'Kedusha alludes to the sphere of the Bina, and the Bina is Pchinas Yovel. This is where everybody goes free. The whole Moharan is now that all the lights, the supernal lights, are being opened, are being exposed from that sphere of Bina. As we said, those Yud, that the incorporation of a son and a student, Ben V'Talmid, is a Bechina of Yovel. This is Lamaitze, the end of the Torah. And now it's the Sofis that belong to this Torah. This is the burial of Moshe. Nobody knows where Moshe Rabbeinu is buried. Why do we need to know where he's buried? The Medrash says if we would have known where Moshe is buried, we would come to his tziyun and ask him, to be mechaper, for everything, to daven for us for everything. And Beis Hamikdash wouldn't have been destroyed. Maybe you put it on silent. Let's.
So what's wrong with doing that by Moshe? What would be wrong with that?
Because Hazal said that if people knew where Moshe Rabbeinu was buried, when the enemies would come to destroy the Beis Hamikdash, people will go to his gravesite and they will ask him to daven for them. They will daven to Kodesh Baruch Hu with his schools, and Beis Hamikdash wouldn't be destroyed, but the Midas Adin is there. So Chas v'Chalila, if Beis Hamikdash wouldn't have been destroyed, Am Yisrael would have been lost. Kodesh Baruch Hu says, no, I'm going to hide the Kvur of Moshe. They won't know. And then Kodesh Baruch Hu has vented his anger on stone and woods, which is Beis Hamikdash, and Am Yisrael was reprieved. So, as a Kvur of Moshe means something that is totally, Kvur Moshe is somebody who can go look for Kvur Moshe. I'm talking about not, archaeologists or whatever it is. I'm talking about people like Arizal, that basically all the Kvarim in the Galilee, wherever it is, Arizal told us where each and every one was. In other words, he can see it. Moshe Rabbeinu can see it. He said he'd say, okay, I see it in the valley. No, it's not. It's on top of the mountain. Okay, it's in top. No, it's in the valley. It is no way for any human being to. So the need of Kvuras Moshe is an inyan which is so profound This is a euphemism for Inyan of the Makifin. By the way, there's a Likutey Halachos at great length about the tikkun that tzaddik does after he passes away, where he can do things that he could not do while he was alive. He can come closer to us and so forth and so on. Bezat Hashem, bli neder. I know we'll get to it next week. Bezat Hashem, I'll prepare a shir. We talk about tzaddik v'ani, the tzaddik and me. We're talking about the entire union of tzaddik. What does it mean? What is a tzaddik? Who is a tzaddik? What is tzaddik ador? The whole thing, so that we'll have, a little bit more settled. Especially when we go to Uman, we'll have a little bit more of a seder. We won't have the argument. What do you mean? You're my Rebbe. No, your Rebbe. We'll put all this to rest in Yitzhak Hashem. וזה עליונים נדמה להם למטה, ותחתונים נדמה להם למעלה. Those above, they thought it is down in the valley. Those who are down, they said, no, it's on top. It said, where is it? It says about Kvurus Moshe. It's Chazal said, that they said that the Malchus sent to look for the burial site of Moshe Rabbeinu. And they were divided to two groups. One group that were above said that the burial site is down, and those that are down, they thought the burial site is up. And nobody knew where it was. As Chazal said, Ze Pchinas Kol. He called B'Shemam V'az. The tzaddik needs to be somebody that's connected. Why does God? We have a story that says that Malchus sent two groups. Be careful, just not to move the two groups. To look, one went up, one went down. The one who was up said it's down. The one who was down said when his burial is buried up. What's going on here? It seems like an anecdote that doesn't make what's got to do with anything. Who would know? I mean, the Kubalim wouldn't know whether. So I don't know. Some kind of a Goyish Malchus will be able to know. What is this? The Malchus sent two sects, of searchers to search for the graves of the Moshe Rabbeinu. The Elyonim, the remez here that Chazal are telling us, the Malchus is Spheres of Malchus. That comes up with the bitchoinus of all the bitochen of all the people in the world. It says it comes up to Yom HaChochma. And Yom HaChochma is a Lionim, this Pchina sun. They thought Lamata, it's down, meaning I haven't even started yet. The one who are down, it seemed to Lamala. The Shboch was right me, I can see HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Shboch was with me, Lord, wow, it's so great. And they were seeking Kvurus Moshe, the Inyan from Makifin. Chazal says that Pchinas Kol. The Inyan of the Tzaddik is Pchinas Kol. We'll talk about Yitzhak Hashem next week more. Pchinas Ki Kol v'Shamayim v'Va'al, because everything is in the heaven and in the earth. Shetzarech HaTzaddik shezoicha le'el Makifin. The Tzaddik that is zoicha to these Makifin, he attains these incredible asagas. Shelo Pchinas Kol. He has to have the ability to combine everything. Kol means the whole thing. To show those Elyonim Shem Lemata, to show those that are above, that are really down, they haven't started. Shamidim Klal, Vidos Hezbollah. Pchinas Mechamita Mepishpashta. What have you found? What have you established? Nothing. Those of Tachtoinim, those who are below, Idmelam Lamala. Wow, it's above. They are massive. Because Baruch is here. He's close to me. He listens to me. He hears me. Hashem. Nosen adds, there is many hidden mysteries in this. The Rebbe only explained just a little. Moshe Rabbeinu was totally humble. As Chazal said. So this, in other words, Moshe Rabbeinu, Kvurus Moshe, is such so humble that it says Al Pnei Adama. It says about the Inyan of Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe anav mikol odam asher pnei adama. Moshe Rabbeinu is humbler than all men who are on the surface of the earth. Al pnei adama, on top of the earth, there is no. But beneath the earth, Kvurs Moshe, there is. Moshe Rabbeinu Pchinas Anova. And each one should understand it according to understanding. Anovas Moshe Rabbeinu, which means he was beneath the earth. It's Kvurs Moshe, Pchinas Makifin. It is impossible to explain it, even more, except to just understand what the words mean. There's another combination of the word Chanukah, which is Merumas in the pasuk Yeshua binun Maleh Ruach Chochma. Yeshua binun, after Moshe Rabbeinu was Mistalik, this is Kvuras Moshe, Prince Makifin, is filled with Ruach Chochma. This is Ruach HaKodesh, the Ruach that comes from Chochma. He Samach Moshe es Yadav Olav, because Moshe, has anointed him with putting his hands on him. But Sefer Teves in the last letters of every word is the word Chanukah. With that pasuk, there is all the bechinas of this particular Maimer. As we said, Melah is a b'chus milus haaretz, that you have to fill the land with human beings. V'chen ruach chochma, ki samach Moshe yadav alav. There's a spirit of chochma because Moshe put his hands on him. All this is put in the Maimer that we said before. The gam binyan hayira, yesh chamish gvuros. There are 5 gvuros. From the Bina come the 5 constricting tools that enable a comprehension of any kind of seichel. That's why, that's the reason why when the voice comes out, we have 5 tools with which to chisel the words out, because the voice, what comes out of the vocal cords, just a plain sound. You go nobody knows what you're saying. Okay, so you need your throat, and you need the back of your throat, and you need your tongue for the O, and you need the roof of the mouth, and you need the lips, and you need the teeth. This is the 5 tools. Each one stops the sound and shapes it, like you're playing a trumpet, You give it more air, less air, guitar, less, more. The sound goes up, down. So each one of those tools, the teeth enables it to go, and the lips makes it go shh, and the lips enable you to say and the chef will go and so forth and so on. So we have 5 tools. Each one of these tools corresponds to the 5 gvuros, the 5 tools of the chokhmah, of the logical system, of the bina, to take the simple voice that comes from the chokhmah. See, I'm a chokhmah. It's just a voice. That's it, and it shapes it. Okay, now I know what your chokhmah is. Once you take the machshava, you cannot read my thought. In the sound alone of my voice, you cannot read my thoughts. But when my thoughts occupy and use the 5 kalim of my mouth, of my speech, and formulate words, what is revealed? My chokhmah. Now you know what I'm talking about. You're not just you hear the words. You understand what is beyond the words. What's the seichel that is embedded in the words? Without the words, you won't be able to communicate. Right? I'm sorry?
Like maybe there probably was another way, like the Har Sinai, how we communicated.
I don't know, but we're talking about
Now.
Okay. Binyan Yira, yesh chamish gvuras, there's 5 gvuras. The 5 gvuras that correspond to 5 fears. Chazal said there are 5 extraordinary, extranatural fears in nature. They don't make no sense. But nevertheless, they are a trickling down, a manifestation of the five gvuras comes from the Bina. Ki yesh 1,405 gvuron, there is 1,400 gvuros. There is Amos Achalash al Gibor, that, something, they said elephants are afraid from mice, these kind of things that don't make any sense. But so there is five kind of unreasonable fears. They correspond to 1,400 gvuros. It's coming Zohar Kodesh. They all come together. They're all incorporated in one in another until 1,405, and all these things the Rebbe did not explain at all. Okay. And the Torah, this particular Torah also speaks of all the spheres. Shefa Keter speaks of the Shefa of the Keter. Chochma, Bina, V'Yadayim. The Yadayim is the spheres of Chesed and Gvura. Gam Yira, that's the Malchus. As Chazal said, Kol Omanei Alocha B'mi Talmido, Kilu Omanei Amenu Chesed. U'Perek Mimenu Yir Shamayim. Anybody who refuses to teach his student halacha, he is preventing chesed from him, and he is making Yir Shamayim, he's driving Yir Shamayim away from him. So the Pchinas Yadayim, so the teaching, the Talmidim, is Pchinas Sfiras HaChochma. Chesed is the right hand, Yir Shamayim is the left hand. Now, what does it mean? Kol Omanei Alocha Mipnei Talmido. What does it mean? In the olden days, in the Tanoim and Amoraim, you want to know what the halacha is, the Talmud would be mishamish the Rebbe. They didn't have books, they didn't have Sfarim. So the Talmud would go with his Rebbe, he would prepare the food for him. He would do whatever it is. So you can watch and see what the Rebbe is doing in various instances. It's called Ma'aserov. So, because when you hear Shmuas, when you hear, okay, I heard this particular Amora says it's like this, or Rava says like this, and Rabba says like this, and Shmuel says like this, and Rav says like this. Okay, but what's the halacha? If you follow your Rav, and you help him, you carry stuff for him, you you are able to see with your own eyes what the halacha is. That's why Chazal says, Kol Omanei Talmido Mishamshay, anybody who prevents his student from serving him, Monei Mimenu Chesed. He's preventing good from him.
We don't do that.
Beseder, because now we have Torah. But nevertheless, if somebody wants, to be really close, or wants to really learn, needs to be meduvak. There's a story about, it's like Isaac from Kalev. There was a very choshev Ungarische Yid, that said when he was young, he says, I was running pranks, forget about it. We're making fun of everybody. I would, imitate, especially the Rabbon and the Tzaddikim. And everybody says, and I was the head. Now we heard, that the next town, it's like Isaac from Kalev, he came to the town, he moved to that town. He said, something, you're going to go there. Oh, watch, we'll make fun of him. So they went there, and they came to the house. They entered the house. The person said the story. He says, they entered the house, and started walking from room to room until they got to the room of it was like out from Colin, and they opened the door without even knocking on the door. And the Rebbe was sleeping. He was taking a nap, and they saw only behind his back. And he said he stood there, and just watching the back of the Rebbe lying on the bed, he said his heart totally turned over. The hashpah of the tzaddik was like immediate. And then the Kalev Rebbe woke up, and he didn't say anything to them. He went to the kitchen and told his wife, prepare a surah also for these boys, because they were going to be, Mitzvah Hashem, good in Elachayidin one day. And he says he never returned home. He stayed by Yitzchak Kalev and stayed with him and served him, whatever, until he became a great Yid himself. The Rebbe says that the more azus, the more gumption a Talmud has, the more he learns from his Rebbe. He says somebody who was timid, he doesn't want this terrible. I mean, what is it? He doesn't learn. He says even with the tzaddik average accepts everybody. The more gumption, the more azus, the more determination you have to get closer, the more you're able to find out, the more you're able to learn. Rav Nosson asked the Rebbe everything, every single thing. I did this, I did that, I did that, with every single thing. That's how you learn. So you sit, it says, Moner chesed, and he prevents from Yerushalayim. Chesed is Yamin, Yerushalayim is small. V'chen, ben v'talmid. It's also, in the Zohar Kodesh, Mashmo, it says Pashas Yisroel, it says Mashmo, this is Chochma. Chochma, if you remember, the name of Chochma was Chochma, is Koach Ma. The power of Ma, of what, is still in the level of theory. It comes down to the bean and so forth and so on, then it becomes reality. But in the Chochma, it's like just my voice. I say, you don't know what I'm saying. That's a level of Chochma. It has to be formed in the Bina, you're able to know what the Chochma is. It says, Mashmo, this is Chochma, Mashem Bno da Tiferes, the spheres of Tiferes and Malchus. From here, this is Talmidim. The Limudei Hashem is the Netzach Vehod. The Talmidim is Pchinas Netzach, the spheres Netzach Vehod. Kol is the Yesod. Malchus is the Yira. That's the inner organs of a person. The sphere Shemdaber Kama Pamim, and there are certain spheres that the Rebbe mentions this particular Torah many times over. Ashrei Oznaim Shekach Shomot. Fortunate are the ears that were able to hear the words of this Torah. Ashrei Shekach Alei. And how fortunate is a nation that this Torah is in the Word. Listen. We have learned this Torah for, if I'm not mistaken, 16 or 17 weeks in a row. And almost every time, we also make a synopsis of the Torah until that place and went on. So it's this kind of a chazorah. Before we started, anybody would ask me, like, what's Makifim? I don't know. Makifim, Yadayim, hands, Yamachochma, what are you talking to me about? No, just follow me, But the thing is that Baruch Hashem, we're zeichet together to go over it again and again and again and again. And eventually it became sort of language that we understood. Okay, I know what Ben Talmud, what Ben is. Talmud is Mechamita, Mepishpashta. We know that Yadayim, Yamachochma, Makif. Okay, we got used to it, which means it became a Pnimi Baruch Hashem to a certain extent. Now, what we need to do, if you haven't done it yet, is take Likutey Halachos, take Torah Zayin, Chelik Beis, Tefillah Zayin, Chelik Beis, and daven. The Torah is the Tefillah is the best parish on the Torah, and Kodesh Baruch should help us B'ezrat Hashem. It will be Zoicha to Kedusha, and Yerushalayim, and Atzlocha, and to come close to the Rebbe that can give us, the awesome Makifim, Pchinas Ben when we need it, Pchinas Tamim when we need it, Yoshir Shamayim when we need it, Bitochen as we need it, and incorporate the entire Torah. That Hashem will start and many more Torahs together in the future.
Fine.